they've dragged my friend through a process, and then they've used that as leverage with these false charges. They didn't. None of the offences happened, but they charged him as though he was a violent criminal. They wrote false statements saying that he did a multitude of things that he didn't do. And then they wanted him to plead guilty to something he didn't do. And then they said, look, we'll let you go of all these things if you plead guilty to this. But all of it's false. All of it's a lie. And that's what they do to people all the time. And it's important that people know that.
Yemini for Rebel News in Melbourne, Australia, catching up on a story that I'm sure you've been following with us since 2021 in May, when probably one of Victoria's most notorious COVID criminals, Nick Patterson, was violently arrested in a group. Now, just to recap for those of you that can't remember what happened, Nick and probably a group of about 10 of you, was it?
Yep.
Had attended a protest in Melbourne CBD, were issued a move-on order, which they complied. Police followed them all the way back to their cars, and only 10 metres from their cars, pounced, punching Jay in the face, who now all his charges have been dropped. And as his friends came to defend him, well, all hell broke loose.
So we weren't able to just go home when we were told to by the inspector. So we were herded by these, I call them stormtroopers, the public order response team. And what they did is they'd block the footpath and they would start to push us, yell at us, scream at us. And this was all to cause us to cause agitation, to get us to react. And I mean, I've even got body camera footage that I've shared where it shows them pushing us violently. This is before they punched up Jay. And I'm actually trying to get our guys to stay calm. And I'm even telling them they're just trying to stir us up. Don't react, don't react. So I was trying to keep the peace all the way through it. But they wouldn't stop. They were unrelenting. They did it again and again and again until finally they just ran across the road. And it was actually the senior sergeant for the port squad who led the charge. That's Warren Chapman, his name is. We're going to name and shame that man for what he did. He ran across the road and started violently punching up my mate Jay for the crime of nothing, for doing nothing. We've had three prosecutors now. We've had judges change. We don't have a trial date. It's 2.5 years after the incident. I'm still on bail conditions. I varied them, but I'm still on bail conditions after 2.5 years of committing no crime, but being criminally attacked by a group of thugs. My mate, Sam, who I've been mates with for quite a while, he was with us during the incident, and he was assaulted by the public order response team multiple times as we were on our way back to our cars. And he was with us at the very end when the police ran across the road and violently assaulted my mate Jay, which obviously caused the interaction that we had and our response, which was to stop them from hurting our friend anymore, which ended up landing me in jail for a month and with the strictest of bail conditions. So as part of my bail conditions and Sam's bail conditions, we can't associate with each other. Now I can because he's not on bail anymore. And that's because the police were forced to drop the charges because there was no evidence to prosecute him with.
So how does it feel now being off bail?
It's definitely a relief, to be able to associate with Nick, and I've missed dearly over the last 2.5 years.
Now you're the second or third that's had the charges dropped? Third.
That we know of. Because I can't associate with the other guys, it might be the fourth. Because there were 6 of us in total that were charged.
So one by one, they're dropping the charges. We interviewed Jay after they dropped his charges. How does it feel to be dragged through the courts for 2.5 years and then just have police drop charges like that?
In a sense, it's a relief, but it's just ridiculous. Like the amount of money, the time and time off work, and to fight it and to be threatened time and time. Every time I go to court, they try and make a deal.
So they were trying to make a deal with you each time, like, look, we'll drop these charges if you plead guilty to these other charges. Yeah. That's what they do, yeah.
And then they threaten me with, if it goes to a committal hearing, that the 20 officers I'd have to pay for their wages for the day and so forth. So it would cost essentially thousands of dollars for me to fight the charges.
Is there recourse, really?
There really is, but it's expensive. one thing that we've been able to see through the whole pandemic situation is that the government's completely incompetent to prosecute themselves and investigate their own corruption. You know, you can't, like we've tried. I tried. I had reached out to IBAC. They handballed the investigation for my specific situation over to the police. And then the police investigated themselves and said, we don't see any wrong here, that the police have done nothing wrong. So they're completely incompetent, or it's deliberate. And I think it's deliberate. I think they deliberately won't, or they whitewash, or they will use the loopholes to so that they don't have to disclose material, or they'll find a way to refuse evidence that's going to incriminate them, or to, I'm not saying they destroy it, but they say things to us like, we can't find that document, or we don't know where that is. We've asked for a multitude of things, and this is the third prosecutor now that I've got in my particular case, and now we're starting to get most of that disclosure material, but we've been denied for so long. And how can they deny us? If the law is very clear, I can request anything that's relevant when they're making a case against me. I guess the point is that there isn't any way to make things right and to get justice unless you have a huge amount of money. And even if you've got a huge amount of money, you need to have competent lawyers that have morals, that know that what's happened to my friend is unfair, it's dishonest and it's cruel. Same with myself, and they're willing to back you and go all the way to get justice. Without that, or without having, I guess, people power, hundreds of thousands of people behind you supporting you, I don't think you can get justice. I don't think that there is any way to get justice. Yeah, there might be an IBAC and there might be an ICAC. There might be these government agencies that are set up to be transparent and to expose corruption within government and to make them accountable, but it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. It's like it's just there to be a tokenary thing to make it look like they're doing everything that they should, but the reality is it's not what happens in reality.
There you go. So he's off, Jay's off. There's possibly there's a couple of others that have already been dropped. You're still fighting. Where can people follow your case specifically?
So I've got a website, fightcorruptpolice.com. And I have a Telegram channel because that's the only social media platform where I really have been able to, for the past, build up any kind of a network. And it's t.me/fightcorruptpolice.
So where are you now in the case?
Yeah, so in my case, we've just began a collateral challenge. It means that we can challenge the validity of the state of emergency at the time. And that's because of the specific charges that have been laid upon me relate to that state of emergency. Not all of them, but some of them do. And the prosecutor in this case has confirmed that Brett Sutton, and he names one of the other bureaucrats as well, they will provide an affidavit providing all the scientific evidence that they relied upon to establish a state of emergency. And I don't believe that there really is sufficient evidence for them to have established a state of emergency in the first place. Just like with the Human Rights Charter that apparently they suspended. The reality is I can't see any evidence that they suspended it because the Act itself says they have to do it in Parliament and do a declaration, and that never happened.
If you think it's important for the world to see what's still happening in 2023 in the name of health, make sure to like, comment, but most importantly, share it far and wide, because the mainstream media, since 2021 when it happened, they haven't said a word about it because they can't demonize the group anymore. In fact, one by one, the charges are getting dropped. So it's important for you to let the world know what's happening still in the name of health. And then head over to fightthefines.com.au. You can check out all the ongoing stories, including Nick's updates as they come out. Fightthefines.com.au. There's other people still fighting in court at the moment.